Well, what we are seeing right now is a massive escalation of the situation. It's a worst case scenario. A lot of people felt that the strikes would essentially, the war would remain between Iran and Israel. We've seen yesterday America actually making it clear that they were directly involved in this. The American attacks which took place, taking out 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran has decided that they are going to extend this not just by attacking Israel, which they've done all day, but in fact, by directly attacking American interests in the region. Now, remember, America has many military bases across the region, and therefore it is a matter of concern for them. And this is the largest one, Al Udeid base. In just the last little while, and perhaps an indicator of what was coming, Qatar, which is one of the most important aviation destinations, has in fact gone ahead and have said that they've shut down their airspace. Now, be that as it may, the situation now is critical, and we really do need to see what is going to take place from here onwards. There are several military bases of the Americans across the region, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Iraq, in Bahrain. They've had close associations across the region, not just air bases, but naval bases as well. There are American carrier forces already deployed in the Indian Ocean, presumably in the Persian Gulf as well, in the Red Sea as well. And therefore, you can expect an almost instantaneous American response. America has warned Iran that should they choose to attack, should they choose to actually go ahead and increase the scope of the operations itself, then America will hit them very, very hard. Now, we do not know at this juncture about the success of the operations which have taken place, but I think there is an important piece of news that I want to share right now. It's come to me from sources in Air India. I say Air India because remember, that entire airspace now, one of the most busy air corridors, where tens of thousands of Indian passengers fly every few hours, that has essentially been impacted. Qatar has shut down its airspace. There were a couple of Air India flights which had taken off. I've been told that 2 of those flights have returned. One is diverted to another area. And as I understand it, Indigo flights have also diverted or returned. Remember, India has massive air links with the Middle East. And the immediate cause of concern for India as well is the safety of passengers on those flights. The video that you see on your screen, explosions heard over Doha. I'm trying to pull out some of my data, some of my stats on American bases across the region. But Al Udeid is one of the bases which has been the largest American bases in the region. They've had squadrons of fighter aircraft. They've had refuelers over there. They've had other military assets as well. And therefore, what we are now seeing is a worst case scenario of an expansion of the entire West Asia scenario going well beyond Israel and Iran and the US to include Iranian attacks. Now we are told not just against Doha, Qatar, but potentially, I use that word because we are still awaiting final confirmation that there are attacks which could be taking place against other American bases across the region. In fact, if you go through that statement which the Iranians have made in just the last little while, they have said that America's bases across the region are in fact not something which is a strength for America, but a source of weakness. But as far as, and therefore it is going to be a problem for America, is what Iran claims. Now, just in terms of their statement, the Al Udeid base in Qatar, per Iran, this base is the headquarters of the Air Force, the largest strategic asset of the US terrorist army, they call them, in the West Asia region. The message of the decisive action of the nation, it sends a clear message, is what Iran is trying to send at this stage. Now, Donald Trump, the US president, is in the Situation Room in the White House. We're trying to get more details of what exactly is taking place. The Indian embassy in Qatar is
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
If it matters,
embassy will also keep updating through our social media channels. Now, remember, again, we are an Indian network. Our focus is on Indian interests in our country and outside India as well, in the East. and West Asia, there are massive Indian populations, certainly a huge Indian non-resident population in Qatar itself. Therefore, that statement from the External Affairs Ministry through the Indian Embassy in Doha is absolutely critical. Now, there are bases, very important ones, of the Americans in places like Saudi Arabia as well. That's another country where there are lakhs of Indians who are resident. And therefore, that is a concern which we would need to look at. But the footage that you see on your screen right now is absolutely striking. It shows volleys of interceptor missiles and incoming ballistic missiles as well from Iran in the direction of the Al Udeid base. Now, I do not know about the success of the strikes. We do not know that at this stage, but clearly in that video in the middle of your screen a few moments back, you were able to actually see interceptions of incoming ballistic missiles. President Trump currently in the Situation Room monitoring this particular situation. There was also an Akasa Air flight headed to Kuwait, returning to Mumbai. It is now returning to Mumbai after Iran launched missiles at US bases in Qatar. So just again, there will be a cascading impact on Indian travel involving tens of thousands of travelers looking to move west if airspace in that region is impacted. So that's one very important direct scenario that I'd like to tell you about. We should try and pull out Flight Radar 24. But in case our viewers have just tuned in, the big story that we continue to track at this stage is the Iran attack, Iran's retaliation on retaliation to America's attack on 3 of their nuclear facilities by hitting the Al Udeid base in Qatar. That's the largest American base in the region.
Absolutely. Vishnu, a lot of these updates keep coming in. In fact, Qatar confirms that there are no casualties from the attack on the US military base. I also do see Vishal with us. Qatar also says it reserves the right to respond following the Iranian attack. Then it says that the Qatari Foreign Ministry has condemned the attack as a clear breach of Qatar's sovereignty, airspace and international law. So you're looking at statements, Vivek, that are just right now coming in. And on our screens, we'll just go full frame looking at these images. And I'm told that these are actually coming in from Qatar, but just 2 different views to help you understand what really has happened. As far as this particular base is concerned, there are also reports of a base in Iraq, possibly, that has been struck. I will also again tell you that where really are the US bases in and around the Middle East. But on your screens, look at these volley of fires that you see. These are actually those missiles that have been fired, that have struck the bases. Very faintly, you will see some bit of movement there that gets obstructed with that loud noise and that missile strike that has been reported here from 2 different angles that you see on your screens. And there are people obviously watching all this that has been captured here. Let me see if we can go back also to Vishal, who has been tracking this story, and he has more updates. Vishal, are there more responses coming in? You're looking at dramatic images of this escalation, and Qatar right now also saying that they will retaliate, they reserve the right to respond.
Exactly right. And the Tasneem News Agency, which is one of the semi-autonomous, state media organizations in our Iranian regime, they have also come out with a statement giving out the details of the operations. They are clearly saying that they have retaliated against the attacks that US conducted on Iranian soil, bombing 3 big nuclear facilities, namely Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. They claimed, US claimed that they had obliterated the nuclear program, but Iran had denied all that. And now Iran's turn to attack the US bases in the region. It was widely expected that this would happen. We've been continuously reporting that there are at least 25 to 27 US bases in the region, housing 40 to 45,000 US troops. At least 10,000 troops are stationed only in Al Udeid base that we've been talking about in the last half hour or so. Al Udeid base is based in Doha, Qatar, and it has 10,000 troops. And so far, there are no reports as to how many troops have been injured or whether these ballistic missiles or whatever they were fired from the Iranian side, how far did they go? The explosions that were heard over Doha, were they explosions on the ground, or they were explosions of air shields defending against the Iranian missiles? Something on the lines of Iron Dome that Israel has. That will be clear in the next few minutes or hours. But so far, it's not clear as to if these missiles fired by the Iranian regime, where they've landed, who they've hit. So far, these visuals clearly show some projectiles in the sky over Doha. They are being intercepted, but it's not clear whether they actually
Okay,
hit the
Vishal,
ground or
allow me
not.
a
Or hit
moment.
the field.
I'm also being joined by Shiv right now, the broadcast. Shiv, what more you can add?
This is Iran's big reply. There is no doubt about it. It comes nearly 48 hours after Operation Midnight Hammer, in which the country's three principal nuclear sites were hit by American B-2 Spirit bombers and Tomahawk cruise missiles. Iran, remember, has issued two warnings to America, the United States of America, warning that their citizens will not be safe, that their military bases will not be safe. And it appears from the initial reports coming in, the pictures coming in from the night sky over Qatar's capital, Doha, that at least a part of this warning is playing out in real time. On NDTV, we're bringing you live reports, attributing them to agencies because there is still a measure of doubt over the impact of some of these strikes. But we are given to understand that the military base, the Al Udeid base, which is a large US base in the small state of Qatar, possibly some military positions of the United States in Iraq and Syria as well, have been struck tonight. So this is Iran carrying out at least a partial retaliatory strike. Whether this is going to escalate into something bigger is not known just yet. But remember that the United States has a large number of military positions in all of these countries. It, in addition, also has military positions in places like Bahrain, Kuwait, Syria, and other countries. It is yet to be ascertained whether military positions of the United States in some of those other countries have also been hit. But these images that we have on our screen right now, breaking images, the biggest escalation since Operation Hammer, confirm that Iran is not taking things lying down and they are responding with force. What nature of weapons are being used? Again, we cannot speculate on, but it seems to be quite clear that ballistic missiles of some kind have been employed by Iran in order to attack the Al Udeid base in Qatar and bases of the United States in Iraq and Syria. Vishnu Shom continues to be with me. Vishnu, we've been discussing the possible retaliation by Iran in the wake of what happened to its nuclear sites at the hands of that operation by United States strategic bombers. This appears to be playing out in different directions. There appear to be missile strikes, or at least attempted missile strikes, over the skies of Doha. The Al Udeid base is on the outskirts of Doha in Qatar. It's a large base as well, but there are no shortage of US military positions in this entire area, in the Gulf, in Saudi, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Oman. All of these places have US military positions, Vishnu.
Number of American soldiers and airmen and sailors deployed in across the Middle East is massive. We are looking at tens of thousands of American soldiers. In fact, 40 to 50,000 US troops, airmen, pilots, reservists, sailors, all of them. Now, this is Oman that we've spoken about. They have facilities in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Bahrain, in Syria, in Iraq, right? And it's not just air bases, there are naval facilities as well. Now, Iran, it just seems clear to me, if you look at the larger picture which is now emerging, that Iran is sending a message that this regime in Iran will fight to the end. It appears to me that they have taken that into their calculation. If America or Israel had expected them to come to the table, well, then they don't at this juncture appear to be willing to do that. Therefore, we are at this stage seeing a massive widening of the conflict with the Iranian attacks on Qatar, on Doha itself, Al Udeid, the largest American facility of its type. And what we did see over there on your screens were interceptions. They've got Patriot missile units deployed over there. They would have possibly THAAD THAAD missile units deployed over there, which operate at a higher range. This area is very well defended. America has got its defenses, the defenses of all of these West Asian, Middle Eastern nations, extremely strong, primarily relying on American weaponry. Therefore, the success of these Iranian attacks would perhaps not be very successful, at least not unless they, used a massive number of missiles to actually go in and attack, and nobody knows the number of ballistic missiles that Iran really has left at this stage. But it's an expansion. Qatar says that they have the right to retaliate. Qatar operates an extremely advanced air force. They operate a plethora of frontline aircraft, not least of which is the Rafale fighter itself. They can easily go ahead and attack Iran firsthand. Yeah. Remember, the Iranian Air Force has been entirely depleted already. So Iran would have taken the step shift, knowing fully well that a response would almost certainly be happening. I would suggest that it would happen just in the next couple of hours.
In the next couple of hours, all sorts of news breaks coming in locally from the Middle East right now. Saudi fighter aircraft already apparently in the air, according to some reports. What kind of response is going to take place will need to be seen. Remember, the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier is not very far from what's going on right now. There are American submarines and ships in the Persian Gulf at this point of time. So there are many things that can happen by way of an escalation from this point. But tonight on NDTV, as we bring you these very troubling live pictures from Qatar. Remember, Qatar is a country which has a large Indian population as well. That's just a side piece of information. But at this point of time, the Al Udeid base in Qatar and at least 3 or 4 other US military positions in different countries, including Iraq and Syria, have reportedly been struck by Iranian missiles, demonstrating that Iran continues to have a long-range offensive capability and the ability to strike with precision. Anjana Shankar, journalist and war reporter, is live with us today.